Hey guys, what's up? My name is Bharat, you're watching iGyaan, and today we are checking out the MacBook Pro with the M1 chip. Now, there have been a lot of new devices with the M1 chip, and we've already checked out the Mac Mini. So if you click on the bubble on the top right, you can go check out our review for the Mac Mini. But one of the more exciting products is the MacBook Pro, which basically now becomes one of the most capable laptops as far as video editing and photo editing is concerned because of the M1 processor or the M1 chip on there. Now, the M1 chip was launched by Apple as a first Apple Silicon chip, and it has already surpassed a lot of Intel-based Macs, and it sort of competes in blows with some of the other high-end machines as well. But what is the MacBook Pro 13-inch like? Let's find out. Let's quickly unbox it, and then let's take a look at the device itself. So inside the box of the MacBook Pro, you get a pretty standard set of accessories. In fact, you get no accessories. You get the adapter, which is a 61-watt charger for the MacBook Pro 13-inch. And then you get a USB-C to USB-C cable. This is a 2-meter cable. You can also buy separately an extension for the adapter if you want to elongate your charger more. And that is available separately. And the USB-C to USB-C 2-meter cable is also available separately on Apple's website. So if you want multiples of those, you can easily get those. But let's talk about the MacBook Pro itself. Now, if you look at it at first glance, it looks like any other MacBook Pro, and it should, because with respect to design, nothing has really changed. On the front of the device, you do have the Apple logo sitting over here. We have it in the space gray color. And if you open this up, you get the new style keyboard. And I have to say that the keyboard is quite a lot more tactile than my last generation MacBook Pro 15-inch. So definitely an improvement in the keyboard. And the keyboards have been finicky with MacBooks in the past. This one, it seems, is fixed as far as that is concerned, at least at the first impression that I can tell you. You still have the touch bar in the MacBook Pro 13-inch, and it's something that I have started to use quite a lot more over the couple of years that it has been available. Initially, I was not really using it, but now when I type or when I browse through the internet, the touch bar comes in really handy for jumping between tabs, etc. Another interesting aspect is the Touch ID sensor. Now, previously on my MacBooks, I've had a glass Touch ID sensor, which not only is glossy, but it retains sort of a fingerprint. This time around, they've changed that and given a more matte black Touch ID sensor. You don't really need a power button. So initially, the Touch ID sensor was the power button. This time around, you just use it as a fingerprint sensor. So you still get a FaceTime HD camera. So it's a 720p webcam on the device above the display. In the bezel, it's quite well hidden, but you can see it if you look at it from an angle. You also get the green light whenever the camera is turned on, which is pretty typical of Apple and its devices. You do have better microphones on this. So if you're doing a lot of video calls from home, you can use the inbuilt microphones and they sound excellent. Also the speakers, even though it's a very thin strip of speakers, they sound impressive, and I want to show you a quick sample of that. When Apple announced the Apple Silicon chip for their Macs, this is louder than some of the external Bluetooth speakers that you can get. So inbuilt, you have some really impressive speakers. So overall, this is a pretty impressive package. But what really matters for this is the performance of the MacBook Pro. And we will get into that because I know a lot of you guys are excited for that. Let's talk about the trackpad. Now this is, if you've come from a couple of generations back, you will see that the trackpad is much larger. Now this is Apple's new trackpad, and they use an even larger version on the new 15-inch MacBook. So this is a pretty large and comfortable trackpad to use. It is a glass trackpad. It still continues to be the first touch trackpad that Apple devices have had for a while, and the experience, the multi-touch gestures, all of those work really well. Now, as far as ports are concerned, you just have the two USB-C ports. These are also Thunderbolt ports. So you can use Thunderbolt accessories. You can also do sort of a breakout where you can get a hub and convert that into multiple ports. If you want traditional USB-A ports, an SD card reader, Ethernet ports, all of those adapters are available separately. Or like I said, you can get a hub and have everything done through that. Any of these can also be used for charging the MacBook Pro. And on the right side, you do have a headphone combi jack, and that is basically it. You have no other ports. I would have liked to still see a SD card reader on the MacBook. I know Apple doesn't like using them, but I feel that still a lot of people use MacBooks for photo editing, video editing, and they still ingest via SD cards. But I feel that Apple can still at least include an SD card reader because there seems to be still quite a lot of space inside the chassis of the MacBook Pro 13-inch. Now, initial impressions, some of the things that you will really notice with the MacBook Pro out of the box is the fact that when you lift the screen, and this is what Craig Federighi also showed in the Apple keynote, is that when you lift the screen, the MacBook is basically on. And that is something that you don't really get to experience unless you know it. So what happens is that in most cases you won't realize how quick this is, and if you've not used a MacBook in the past, you won't realize how much time this basically saves, because in one segment you can argue with the fact that you don't really need an instant on, but if you're really switching and doing something quick, you will understand that this is something of a luxury, and this is something that, at least as far as I know, no other laptop, a full-fledged laptop, can do. And that is really impressive. So it's always on, instant on whenever you lift the screen, and that just improves your workflow. It improves the time that it takes for you to get started on something that's in your mind. And if you want to write down something, if you want to search for something, it's almost like your smartphone. Now, some other benefits are, of course, that things work really quickly in this. You want to jump between applications. Safari on Big Sur is also really impressive. You still get the cool features like the control center on Big Sur. Very easy to use, allows you to customize and figure out the way you want to use it. The new night mode settings are also great. Some of the new wallpapers are impressive. But more importantly, what we're talking about is the performance. So we did run a few renders and a few exports of video. But what we find is it's basically trading blows with the high-end iMacs and high-end editing machines that we have in the studio, and that from something like this, which is completely lightweight and a portable form factor, is also really impressive. So the 13-inch MacBook has a display which is 2560 by 1600 pixels as far as the resolution is concerned, and you do get quite a lot of brightness on this. So you do have a 500 nits of brightness, which just pops the display completely. It's an IPS display, so your colors are really sharp, and overall text is also really sharp, and you really enjoy whether you're looking at videos or photographs or editing stuff. This screen is more than capable for all of those things. Now, we want to test the MacBook out and we want to review it, but I don't want to do a traditional review for the MacBook. It's something that we can really use, and it's something that I really want to test out. So we will be doing a full review of the MacBook Pro 13-inch, but we want to do a long-term review. So if you guys have any particular things you'd like us to check out with the MacBook Pro, let us know in the comment section below. And before we end this video, I want to talk about the battery life of this. So this supposedly has a lot of battery life, and we experienced that because when we first opened this MacBook, it's Tuesday today. When we first unboxed the MacBook, it was a Thursday. And after downloading a whole bunch of apps, it was about at 60%. And that's when we started shooting the machine. And we spent the entire weekend with it. And we edited videos, we exported tons of videos. We browsed the internet, we continued to download stuff and run benchmarks, etc. And on Monday, in the middle of the day, it reached about 10%. And we charged it yesterday to about 91%, and at this moment it sits at about 79%, which is, I think, for battery life from a MacBook, it is absolutely impressive. MacBooks have traditionally had more battery life than Windows computers in general, but this is bonkers. MacBook Airs don't give this kind of performance. I'm sure the new M1 MacBook Air does, but this is ridiculous amounts of battery performance from a laptop. So again, I'm going to test all of those things out in the long term. So we'll give you a better review and we'll test out the machine for a longer time. So like I said, if you'd like us to test out anything, let us know in the comment section below. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button and the bell notification icon with all notifications turned on so that you get notified each time we upload a new video. We have a lot of giveaways going on our channel. So we'll leave links to both of those on the channel in the description below. We have a giveaway going on Twitter. We have a giveaway going on Instagram. Go check those out. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We'll see you guys in the next one.